Supervisor Smith.
Hi, Sarah.
Is there anyone else joining us remotely?
Geez, Sarah's afraid of the
I
rain.
don't think so, and
Does that
Yeah.
mean we have quorum?
we do have
We
quorum.
do, wonderful.
Yeah,
In
everyone we're expecting.
that case, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Monona, are we recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Thank you. So I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Monona Sustainability Committee for Thursday, November 10th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting?
Move to approve.
Approve, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any additions, corrections, changes at all? No,
None that I see.
hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right, very formal we are. Any appearances tonight? I don't believe so.
Nope.
Not really any unfinished business, although we did have a fabulous meeting the last time we were all here. It's not common that the mayor would join us, and I think we had some fantastic discussion. I think what I took away from the meeting, and anyone else can add what, if I'm omitting anything or misrepresenting something, I think some of the major themes are that this committee, I'm going to choose to say that a major theme is that we might be more powerful than we think we are, in that we have the sustainability plan. And because of that plan, which was approved by the council, by going back to that plan and picking out things and bringing it to council, that's how we move forward. Well, that's one way that we can move forward. And kind of need to take back a little bit of that power, I think. Also, so Ken volunteered, who cannot be here tonight, he's at a sick house, really sad. But he volunteered to take a look at that sustainability plan and see what we might start picking off. Thor reached out to Brad. Brad pulled out some old spreadsheets and wrote dashboards from quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
2015, I think, and we're just going to go through and start checking off what we've done and accounting for it. With anything in life, I don't think, I mean, all of us have probably run into this. There's doing the work and then documenting that you did the work. And the second bucket seems to always suffer. And I have always found that to be the case in any profession. So we just need to go back and document what we've done and where we're at, get a baseline. So that was one thing I took away from that meeting. The second thing I took away from it is that while we're doing that, we can also be continuing to do community outreach projects. And that's a real opportunity for folks here to get some autonomy and creativity, and somebody might sign up to coordinate No Mow Maze. Somebody might coordinate best practice, community education for using salt in the wintertime, or our e-cycling event, and you could run with it and figure out what kind of PSAs that you'd like to do and figure out how you're going to promote it and what volunteers you need. And you could work together with someone else. You don't have to do it all by yourself. So there's kind of like those two things, the plan and then the outreach. And then I also think that there is even a third thing, which could be as opportunity arises. Let's say that somebody makes us aware of some opportunity, a grant that we might want to apply for, something quite big. That is also something that this committee could be involved in. Those are the themes that I took away. Is there anyone that, I think we were all there, and if I'm leaving out anything or just different way to say it. Sarah, you had a question that we followed up with Leah about the template language. How did that go? You had asked about.
Well, my main question was just kind of how resolutions get referred to committee, and generally the answer is that they don't get referred to committee, they come from committee. So it's different than the kind of county board or state legislative structure. So that was really my question, and then Leah gave some kind of other information about process if we wanted, if we had any ideas for a resolution that we'd like to see coming out of sustainability. So
Right. All right, so with that, and with Ken not being with us tonight, tonight we're gonna hold off on talking about the sustainability plan for tonight until he has a chance to look that over with myself and probably meet with Thor and Brad and just start to get that in order, cleaned up and in order. And then let's just move on to sort of new business of the projects that are coming down the pike on the calendar here. So we've got adopt a storm drain and leaf management report out, and then upcoming projects, right? I'm sorry, I just realized I'm taking things out of business. So taking things out of order. So under new business, we've already talked about letter C. And then Thor, would you like to look at the dashboards tonight?
Yeah, we can certainly look at, I in the meeting packets, I've only included the 2021 dashboard. We can certainly look at that, and I can share the other ones with the committee.
Is there any way to get it projected up on one of these screens?
Yeah, I could.
Or I suppose we can pull it up on our
share.
phones or whatnot. But that was emailed out to everyone ahead of the meeting, and I don't know if we have a chance to look over that, but that's really just an example of the type of documentation that we'll be reviewing. I don't know that there's much to say about it, other than there it is.
Yeah, we can
it's-
kind of use it as a template for I guess what we want the dashboard to look like. In the past, it's been much more graphical. I think there must have been a conscious effort recently to make it more of a narrative and storyboard kind of a dashboard rather than lots of charts and figures. So maybe we could have a conversation about that.
I would say that as we track the work that's being done, we would, what time of year? I can't recall what time of year that dashboard came out. I
think in
can't
the
remember what
spring.
month. Okay.
But that would be something I have to confirm. I can look into that and get back to you.
I'm not sure that it would be something that we could really have a lot to add for this year. I mean, we could. I think Brad would always consult with other city leaders, police, fire, public works, and together come up with statistics for the dashboard. Yeah, and as we start to check off things on the list, I think it'll be easier to come up with ideas for that. Yeah,
Question.
sure.
Talking about the plan and the list and the dashboards that we're tracking, and forgive me if I'm taking us off a bit, but has there been a prioritization of what it is that the work is entailing? Are you guys proceeding as if it's kind of a strategic plan kind of a format, or how do you choose what's most important to do when?
Yeah. So the last time, so Sarah, did you hear that? Sarah, the question was, how do we choose what to do when? There was a big push to focus on energy some time ago. That sort of bubbled up as the priority of the committee. And that was a few years ago when we worked to pass the resolution for 100% clean energy. It was put to the council for a vote and unanimously passed. Doing it is another thing, right? So we're in this kind of tricky position. So I would say energy is still a priority. And as we look at the sustainability plan, I think Ken, who is the most knowledgeable of all of us when it comes to energy and renewables, he might be able to identify some things there. And there has been some identifying of possible projects, just no movement forward. or at least, there's always a movement forward, but it just seems so small sometimes that, yeah. So that's sort of like the balancing of those outreach projects with like this big, bigger stuff. When the new, sometime down the road, there will be the need for the city to, well, the city has already identified the need to build a new public safety building. But we don't have a date yet on when that might actually start. But I know the mayor is committed to assembling a group who would be consulting on the construction of that, so that it's as green as feasible. This committee is not necessarily compiled of renewable energy experts. It's just, folks that just care about sustainability and want to make an impact in the community. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Well, it's helpful to understand kind of how energy has percolated up, how you're addressing it. I'm just thinking about how, in the myriad of different kinds of topics that the committee has taken up, kind of how you focus and how you can measure success as you're, what are you targeting and how can you tell that story, up to the city and other stakeholders that can get us the buy-in that I heard mentioned numerous times last meeting. So just kind of getting familiar with how this whole process is done and how we decide what we move forward on. So
yeah, I think that going through the plan is the first step in picking out things from the plan to implement.
thank you.
Yeah.
Can I
Alright.
comment?
Yeah.
So I was just gonna, I think to that question, and I don't know that this is true, but I feel like when I had gotten on the committee that there wasn't like an active choice to make energy the top priority. It just sort of, we drifted that direction and that stayed as what our priority was.
Sarah, I think perhaps before you came on, that was when Chad Spate was the chair of this committee. That was our plan, was to make energy our focus. Were you
Okay.
on at that point?
No,
Yeah.
I was, no, I was actually 1 year that he was chair and then Nancy was the rest, but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I wasn't certain that there was like a vote from the committee to make determinations to prioritize or deprioritize other initiatives. So, but I think that's sort of where the discussion of going through the sustainability plan has sort of come from, is to be able to be more like deliberative and making a real decision as a committee about those priorities and pieces.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I have a different perspective. I think it was very deliberate to choose energy and just the fact that we came up with that massive clean energy resolution, massive, but that clean energy, 100% clean energy for the city by 2045 and for municipal and for residential by 2055, if my memory serves. I mean, that was a pretty big stake in the ground, and we worked with an outside consultant to help draft that language. So stuff. Okay, so with the plan sort of on hold for discussion for the evening, I do at least want to make sure that people know where to find the plan on the city website. Now you have a look through it. And today Thor emailed me some spreadsheets of kind of a different way to look at the plan, and which they were a little familiar. I will joke with you about that. So I'm like, oh, this looks like a document I put together years ago, but that's all right. That's okay. It's great. It's great. That's a flattering thing that it was adopted. And I'd like to talk about some upcoming projects, but also just to report out on how things went with Adopt a Storm Drain. So PSAs are still being run on VMO. We had some some hopes for doing things that just didn't materialize fast enough. This year was unlike a lot of years, having missed so many meetings before Thor was able to come on board. So let's see my notes here. We had thought that we might get some flyers together and have Salvatore's put them on pizza boxes, just never really happened. Couldn't get them printed fast enough here. We thought we had some that were already printed. It turned out that was not the case. We did get a submission in the city newsletter. We did get an email and continuing communication out to people who have already signed up to adopt a storm drain, but we didn't take it a step further and specifically ask them to go get someone else to adopt a storm drain. We never took it to that place. And let's see here. Going through my notes. Nope, that was it. So really it's just, I think there are limits to, well, that's what was done. Those are the outreach efforts that were done. All right. So when we look at next projects down the road, we're looking at Earth Day in the spring. We've got that e-cycling event. NOMO May in the spring. I'm looking at a document that was shared out. I wish I could share my screen. It's a Google document that was shared out with everyone, and it just is sort of a spreadsheet of like projects that we can do. I don't know if everyone has this or not.
There's a version of it in the notes, right?
Yeah, is that the same thing that's in the meeting package?
Yes.
Different format of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So
Which,
so let's, yeah.
which page of the meeting packet is that? Because I could share my screen. Since
Yeah.
I'm up on your
Seriously,
big
Sarah,
screen.
that'd be
I
great.
think it's page 9 in the email document, somewhere about there.
9. It within the full agenda packet?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just scrolling back way up. 1 second.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing, actually. If you give me security, I will share my screen.
All right. Let's see, where is that setting? All right, if I make you a co-host, will that give you?
Yep, that would do it.
There we go.
All right. And can you see that large enough?
That's
Great.
great, thank you.
Perfect, Sarah, thank you. So now that we're in November, I think it's just time to start looking forward and basically just assigning folks to coordinate one of these projects. So we've kind of got our project work with community outreach, and then we've got more programming that's ongoing all the time with the sustainability plan. And whenever I start talking like this, I think to myself, we need more people on this committee.
Missing one person tonight, right?
Two?
Or two?
Yeah, one or two, but even so, I mean.
Sure.
3 people.
Yeah,
Oh, three people,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah. So just if we were to think about it in terms of the calendar and focus on what's next on the agenda or next on the months ahead, it would be that salt days and smart salting practices that we'd want to really do a lot of community outreach for that.
For water softeners or for pavement? Just water softeners is another one.
Right,
And I was thinking like, maybe there's a company, like whether it's like Hillenbrand or something, it'd be kind of cool if we could maybe reach out to one of those companies, because I know they have like alternate methods of softening water without dumping salt into the system. Maybe they'd be willing to do a citywide promotion with some sort of special incentives to switch.
What would that look like?
I don't know. Just, I
That's
thought I had
kinda
to,
cool.
you know, I mean, we could certainly approach them and see if they'd be willing to do something like that, specifically to encourage people to switch from the traditional salt systems. So that puts a substantial amount back into the water system, and they can't really remove it at the water treatment plant.
Do you think maybe there would be like informational meetings?
Maybe,
Like,
or maybe they could just come up with some sort of like, in conjunction with the sustainability committee,
sure.
some sort of incentive to do that. Because I know they like to rebuild old, like Hillenbrand will take old softeners and rebuild them and then resell them.
Mhm.
So it might be one of those things where they'll give credit to somebody to take it and then install a new environmentally safer system. I don't know, it's worth a conversation.
Interesting.
It is. I'm so glad you brought that up. I wouldn't have thought about that.
I just read something about it not long ago. Somebody was talking about like, it was an article I was reading about exactly how much salt we put back into the water system from water softeners.
Wow. It would be worth also asking if they have maybe like a free video that
Mhm.
could be incorporated into some kind of messaging or even in the city center.
It doesn't have to be one company. There's several that do it. I don't know. It's worth a shot.
I don't know what the policies are on reaching out to private businesses
Either.
and showing them favor.
Yeah, that's why you probably couldn't go to one. I
Right.
just brought that one up because I'm familiar with the name.
Yeah,
But like, I know Trix does it too and some others, and maybe it's like something where we encourage these companies to offer the incentive, you know?
Or looking for companies to offer.
They're looking for companies to offer incentives, you know, because it was a private company that we contracted with to do the water meter changeouts. So, you
right.
know, I mean, it could be, or maybe, just maybe, we can convince the city to find some money so we can offer rebates for people to do that, you know?
All that money we have.
Yeah, well, you know, it could also be one of those things where maybe one of those companies decides that,
Right.
I like this, let's
Yeah.
fund a $5,000 account to incentivize people to do this.
So I can say that December, January, February, March, there's not much going on. And this could be something that we focus on for several months. And then the Earth Day e-cycling event in April, that's pretty much something that Brad and Thor can kind of just hammer that out. And we just show up the day of. The contact's already in place, the advertising, the company that comes in does all the work for us. So this is a big, like, as we sit and talk about it, this could be kind of a big deal and it could take a lot of time, but at the same time, I think we have the time.
Yeah, it's something for us,
You know?
it's something
Yeah.
tangible for us to do.
Yeah,
That we haven't done
Yeah.
before. And also,
Right.
hey, Thor, do you write grants at all?
I think it's part of my job description technically, so
I have to imagine there's some sort of grant out there for, and we could probably do the legwork to try and identify it,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But there's gotta be some sort of grant out there to maybe fund some sort of program like that.
So this is a very typical thing that happens on the sustainability committee, right? And we have so many good ideas and there's no shortage of things that need to happen in the world, right? And I think, I'm pretty sure this is also in the sustainability plan. So I think that would justify us doing the work if we could like go to the mayor and say, see, we're implementing the plan. We're not just off on some tangent, like shoot,
Sure.
we I think reputation for being, okay. All right, so how do we do this? What's the next step? So to encourage, there's encouraging residents, but there's also
I think we need to figure out exactly, I think we need to come up with some data too, because I
Yeah.
read an article.
Yeah.
right? So it's not exhaustive,
Right,
but maybe I will volunteer to try and compile more information about that and
okay,
about the effects of water softeners, putting back into the water system, the effluent or whatever you want to call it. So I can compile that data and then maybe do some cursory searching for potential grants that might, but let's see what the total impact of that is first, you know? So I'll volunteer to do that. So by the next meeting,
Awesome.
I'll try and come up with some data about that stuff.
and then, you know, we always fall back on the same communication channels, but they're not bad, you know, so we would have PSAs, you know, educating people about water softener use. And of course, there's the salt that you put on your driveway and your sidewalks. And
So
we
you
would
just-
have something in the newsletter.
Do we declare one like February salt month?
Ooh, I bet somebody else already has. There's a.
I was
there's a-
gonna, I think that there is, I can go,
It's
I
called
actually think that there's like
Saltwise.
an annual salt awareness week or something,
Okay,
but it
Well, we should-
actually might be December.
okay.
Wisconsin Salt Wise is the name of
Yeah,
the
There's a group.
website and the group, yeah, and they've got a ton of
Okay.
information that we can lift and draw from.
Okay.
Winter salting guide, there's webinars every Wednesday, it talks about water softeners, content there.
Awesome.
So Wisconsin Salt Wise or WI Saltwise, all one word, .com. And yeah, it only takes 1 teaspoon of salt to pollute 5 gallons of water to a level that is toxic for freshwater ecosystems. This is such an uplifting group to be a part of. It's like, God, the world's on fire.
The more you know.
Yes.
But that's like a PSA right there. Did you know it only takes, you know, okay. Now I've never reached out to the folks that are part of this website, this group, but about us, it looks like there's some partnership.
Sounds like we should.
Oh my goodness, there's tons of people,
Yep. Milwaukee Riverkeeper,
everybody.
Public Health, Madison-Dane County.
Yeah. We got a lot of things we could do.
Even water treatment professionals that might be able to help us understand the
The
impact.
Republican National Committee. What? No.
You're on the wrong website.
Sorry.
Me
What are you
too.
doing on that website? Yes, sorry.
These meetings are recorded.
Yes, yes, it's a joke. I'll make a Democrat joke later, sorry.
So I wonder what, so when we talk about smart salt use, so we're probably looking at snowfall in December, right?
Mhm.
Probably, right? So we're gonna need to get like PSAs out, newsletters out, but this water softener thing is year round, right? So there's kind of a seasonality component, and then there's like this thing we could do all year round. So we don't want to forget the seasonal stuff, but I do like this whole water softener
So
push.
well, maybe in
nice.
December, we concentrate on the
Yeah,
salt,
Snow
the
salt.
snow salt,
yeah,
and then this is a larger project.
maybe, yeah. So is there someone here? So Patrick's kind of already tied up with like looking into water softeners and searching for grants, but I still think it's a great thing to do right now. But is there someone like, would you ladies be interested in looking more at like how we can educate folks on sidewalk and driveway salt and things like that?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Work together.
I think you should work together. I don't think you should feel like you have to be off on your own. I mean, that's part of being in a committee, is you get to meet people and you know, meet your neighbors. So I say run with it. You know, come up with a plan. We're gonna do X number of PSAs. And the script for a PSA can double as a blurb in a newsletter. You know, you can reuse the same content multiple times. And who knows, maybe Patrick could even throw some flyers on pizza boxes.
Yeah, I can, that's always available. So,
And I'm guessing that Saltwise place might even have
probably a download.
resources, yeah, that we can just print out from their website.
May I ask Sarah a question? So, Sarah, is there any conversation at the county level about water softeners at all that you could think of?
Yes. I've had many to look at actually centralized water softening because that overall reduces the amount of salt that ends up in the lakes if it's done centrally before it gets to each individual household. And there are some cities that have done that in
Milwaukee does,
Minnesota
right?
in
Doesn't
particular.
Milwaukee soften their water centrally?
You know, I don't know, actually. That's not the ones that I've read recently, but they might have done it like long ago. So it's not, it's old news.
Yeah, I think so. That's why, I don't remember why, but I remember looking
Could
at a
be.
property in Milwaukee once and they were explaining to me that they don't need water softeners because the water is softened by the city.
Wow.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
So what have you come up with, well, how far has that conversation gone?
Well, it's as far as it would be really expensive.
Gotcha.
You'll notice it wasn't in the last budget we just passed last
Yes.
night.
Yeah.
But I am very interested in the concept myself. So continuing to talk to folks about it. And if you all learn more in this, process of looking for informational resources, I would be happy to have more data or, statistics that could help persuade others in that direction that it's worth an investment. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Just looking at this website, it talks about saltless water softeners. That's interesting. Water conditioners.
We're using petroleum byproducts. No, just kidding.
I mean, it probably is, or it's probably
I
using
know.
something that we're gonna
Right,
find
it's probably
out,
worse.
10 years down the line is just as bad or worse. Yeah.
Crushed up BBC.
I thought we were supposed to make jokes.
Oh, my goodness.
There was like, what's wrong with this committee?
I know.
Sorry.
So I'm just gonna pop onto the city's website and I'm gonna look up the sustainability plan and pull it up. And specifically, I'm gonna look to see about what it says about water, because I am nervous about going off on another project without, and with, if the mayor, and the mayor is really wanting us to check off this plan. I don't blame her. So when I open it up, there are, and all I did was I went to the city's website and I just searched for sustainability plan. That's all I did. And I know that it is broken down into focus areas where there's water is an area of focus. So, and that starts on page 9, it looks like. So as you scroll through a lot of the, text, there eventually comes to some objectives for the community and objectives for the municipality, and then strategies that follow. And let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Where are the strategies? Well, maybe the word objective doubles as the word strategy. I thought that those were, yeah, anyway. So for example, on page 13 or 13, they start raise sustainability awareness, just things like that. I think we're always doing that. It's so hard to measure awareness, and I think we're in need of something measurable. Oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong page, water, wait a
Water
minute.
objectives start on page 31.
Sorry, I'm like on the wrong.
That's
yeah. There we go.
So there is an objective to increase water efficiency and conservation by residents. And one potential strategy that's listed is to develop an incentive program for citizens to encourage conservation. For example, incentives for low flow toilets, faucets, shower heads, and water softeners. I think that's more in terms of water use,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
water softeners are mentioned.
Well, yeah, I mean, the process of, well, the water softening process expends quite a bit of water.
Mhm.
It does.
The closest one that I can find is slightly tangential, which is, looking at decreasing pollutants, but this specifically calls out stormwater runoff, not necessarily in total or residential.
Seems like we can make that fit.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, I would need to read more about the Wisconsin Water Star Program. But improving Monona's score and rating, would this have any bearing on that?
Yeah, I wonder if the saltless ones use less water. Anyway, it's something we can look up.
Yeah.
So this plan, all of the strategies that are listed have been put into a gigantic spreadsheet. So you can just filter on water or energy or land use. And the spreadsheet has a bunch of columns like status. Has it been started? Has it not been started? Who is assigned to it? Who else do we need to talk to? So it's all been organized. And Brad shared some of that with Thor, but it wasn't in the packet, correct?
Correct, that was
Yeah.
yesterday that I.
Yeah, that's
seen that.
okay. That's okay. But the point is, I think this document can be kind of unruly. So I'm going to put it on my to-do list to share that spreadsheet with everyone so that you can just sort of sort and filter and sort of analyze all these objectives in one neat and tidy spot. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with running with this water softener project if we feel like that's a really, a way that we can sort of do something measurable.
I think that if there's something in the plan, I'm trying to remember if there was, but related to the lake quality, even if it doesn't particularly reference salts or, sodium levels, I think if there's even a reference, that would be the argument, is to say that we know that salt flowing back to the lakes is very harmful. And so that's sufficient, whether they specifically outline salt in the plan or not as one of the causes. I think that, it's is relevant for them.
I would agree. I see here when we look at the water municipality decreased pollutants and debris in the runoff, they're looking at pounds per year of phosphorus, but also total suspended solids and effluent. Again, this is specific to stormwater. I don't know if there are opportunities to modify language in the plan to broaden the scope of what we're talking about with water.
Can you tell me what page you're looking at?
Of course, I'm looking at page 34.
Thank you.
You bet. So it's the top objective there that we've been for.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, so WM means water municipality, number 4, right? So municipality is where it's challenging.
Yeah.
So now this is maybe a public works department task, to improve the regular street sweeping program. There was actually a friend of mine who is a stormwater professional and talked about that the trucks that circulate the community, it might be slow going to collect all the leaves from the grassy areas of people's front yards, but if the trucks could go very quickly and just suck the leaves out of the street, it would be actually more effective than taking, just to make the rounds faster and just get them off the street. So So again, is that what our job is? Do we bring that to the Public Works Committee and say, this is what we'd like you to do as a strategy for, improve your street sweeping program? I mean, it is proven that that strategy will improve. It will reduce suspended solids, it will. So then, as Patrick and I know, so what, we would bring it to the council would vote on it, but then that would put the onus on Public Works to actually change something, and that could be hard, that could be difficult, but,
That's, I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta try.
right, yeah,
There is a community version of that on page 32.
sure.
Objective WC4, water community, decrease pollutants and debris and stormwater runoff. In terms of being a community-driven initiative.
Mhm.
And I was just gonna say on that discussion of the leaf pickup, I think that, I don't know if we're really, are we adding things to this outreach calendar, Teresa, or what do you want to stick to the couple months we're talking about now, I guess, before I start talking?
No, I don't want to add, well, what were you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking like a leaf it campaign, like the No Mow May.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Yard sign,
if you
yeah,
don't rake all your leaves into the street,
right.
then the solution's already taken care of and you actually don't have to
Right.
take any action. Better
Right.
for everybody all around. So,
Right,
The environment, like the
Right.
natural habitats.
right.
yeah.
So I think the beautiful thing about that campaign, sir, is that it's already kind of shovel ready with the leaf-free streets program that is already out there. Brad has tons of yard signs that, and I think.
Well,
that's just
isn't
making-
that though, just to not rake your leaves into the street, but
Correct.
I'm saying the Leaf It campaigns are don't rake your leaves up because that's
Oh,
only for
no.
aesthetic purposes. It's not beneficial
Except for
and
off of hardscapes.
Got
so,
it.
right.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, so like, I'm in Eau Claire right now, all over Western Wisconsin, everybody's got their yard signs in various communities that they're similar to our No Mow May yard signs. That was like the city
Okay.
of La Crosse made it a big push. So there are the yard signs all over La Crosse that say Leaf It, because it's better for the entire ecosystem. And I mean, it certainly saves people time. And again, it's just an aesthetic choice to rake them all up in the first place. And it's much better to just run a lawnmower over them and let it mulch. So
Sir, how do I find information about it? Is it just, I'm just Googling.
yeah, I think if you just Google Leaf It, I was just on the City of La Crosse website myself, just because I was looking to see how they did it. But I mean, they do have it on there. It's under their sustainable initiatives page
La
on City of La
Crosse.
Crosse. And I think how they do it is like you register your house to participate and then they drop off a yard sign. It looks like. So I'm sort of thinking that to your point of how much it, that the leaf sucker, I don't know what it's actually called. Like
Yeah, right.
having to slow down multiple times. If there are fewer houses that it has to slow down for, it can move through the street faster and reduce those emissions from the truck
Right.
itself. So then that's sort of then focused on things that we are tasked with doing and maybe leading to a similar outcome rather than requiring something of Public Works and some policy change.
So I'm guessing this would be like 2023,
Yeah.
a different leaf management campaign, and we would move away from stop raking your leaves into the street and more toward don't rake your leaves. Is that kind of what?
Well, that's what the
Leaf
Leaf
It.
It campaigns are,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
don't rake your leaves. Yeah.
Right. Except for off hard surfaces.
Mhm.
Right. Where they're likely to be carried into a storm drain, yeah.
Yeah,
But when they're spread out and they're naturally caught by, grass and other landscaping, then they don't get washed away the way they do in a large pile that you put on the curb, so.
I found one of their PSAs, one of their.
leaf it, I mulch my leaves, I like it.
Right. Yeah, so.
And I'm volunteering to design a yard sign if we want to do an
Yay.
October 2023 yard sign. I'm all about the yard signs.
You are.
Yeah, that's great.
She designed our no more May signs. They're so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
So I'll just leave that one thing to put on the calendar, and then I promise I'll stop. That's it. Leave it.
Well, I mean, the thing is though, that is on our work plan is leaf management. Every autumn, we work on leaf management. So just some new PSAs are definitely needed and yard signs are very effective in Monona, and those no more May signs that really took off, and that was fabulous.
Yeah, on the outreach calendar right now, right, we have adopt a storm drain, but I think that's just leaf management broadly.
Yes, yeah, right, exactly.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, adopting a storm is just one of the,
That's just one
is
strategy.
a strategy of the overall leaf
Yeah, so I
management.
think we can
Yeah,
work to just update when we see adopt storm drain and these
Right.
kind of materials work. Call it leaf management.
right. So with salt-wise or smart salting practices, which includes water softeners as sort of a longer range goal, we'll just have, we'll get on that right away.
Mhm.
And then e-cycling, Brad and Thor I think can handle that. Nomo May, is there anything that we'd want to change about Nomo May?
We should do no more June too. That's a change.
No more summer.
Yes.
I can't, so many people said that. So many people were like, can I just not mow all year round, you know?
Has there
Just have it
ever,
look like The Walking Dead, you know, around, yeah.
has there ever been a push for like adding indigenous plantings to landscaping or native plantings?
Yeah,
to
I mean-
landscapings that also
Yeah.
reduce mowing, but
Right,
increase habitat at all?
right.
See,
Planting clover
See,
seed.
that would be fun if we could get people to get rid of invasive stuff and exchange it for, like, if we had some sort of way to fund, exchange your invasive whatever for this tree, you know, that's indigenous. Again, it's budget, you know.
It's always,
Maybe the county
it's
can give us some
budget
money.
and people. It's like budget and people. There's not enough people, not enough money. And there's so many
Yes.
things
Like
to
some
do.
sort of incentive to remove grass and
Yes.
do something else.
Like
And then-
no mow, like lawns that don't require any mowing, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
just did with our lawn. We took
Yeah.
out all the grass. And we
Yeah.
put all plantings.
Is that technically allowable in Monona's ordinances? Because the ordinance is where that you have to mow it if your grass is 8 inches or taller.
Yes, yeah, we're
And
just kind of
those
joking
things.
about
So
that.
like, so if you have something that's not grass, can it be 8 inches or taller and that's allowed? Is there like some nuance in the city ordinance that allows that? Or is that typically just kind of not explicitly,
I'm
you
gonna,
know what I mean?
I'm gonna put my name on that one.
I hope so.
I will look into that.
I hope so, because I have hostas that are taller than that.
Yeah, I have, like, my entire front yard is now like
Yes.
3 feet tall.
Yes.
I know that there are.
Yeah.
Well, and that's my
Setback
sort of,
from the road. You have to
yeah,
have a
I just don't
setback.
know how many, like, there may be people who aren't sure whether they're allowed to do that, and maybe you're not explicitly allowed. The city just overlooks it if it's not grass or something. But it would be nice then to maybe make that clear in the ordinances, to say, you know, beyond, you have to mow your grass if it's 8.1 inches. You also, you know, you
Right.
can have non-grass as tall as you want or something.
I mean, there are a lot of organizations around town that already offer a lot of native plant sales that could be incorporated into
Right.
some kind of push by the community.
Mhm. So are you thinking like an event? Like,
An event, like a plant sale,
I like that.
maybe, or, you know, even just letting people know that, yeah, it's a possibility that you can do, and maybe some of the benefits of removing 10 square feet of grass in each lawn and what that might do for habitat, but also pollinators.
Maybe that's a way that we can actually raise some money to have some sort of budget to do things with, like, we actually do the plant sale.
Haven't we, didn't we talk about doing a plant sale and along with a couple of other things as part of the Earth Day event? Like maybe Teresa, like 2-3 years ago, back when we were planning the first e-cycling event, we were originally gonna make it like a bigger event and then COVID, and then we didn't do that. I mean, it was just e-cycling, but I think originally we had thought the Earth Day event could be, you drive through and drop your recycling off, but then there's like a couple other booths or tents, like you can go to
Yeah,
and learn about some other things or buy some plants or,
yeah.
because I know we talked about having like whatever the local composting companies are come and talk about it, or
Yeah.
just to sort of make it a fair so people could
Yeah.
come after they've dropped
Yeah.
off their recycling. Because I think we talked about using that for the plants because then it's also sort of it's late spring or late April getting into, spring when people would plant those things. So
Didn't we talk about handing out the seed packets that you had secured? Those wildflower seeds or?
yeah, well, we did do that
Yeah,
at the last
okay.
two. Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
I don't recall a plant sale. Was I
Well,
sleeping?
do you
through that?
remember though that we were like talking about doing it as like the fair? Because we would, I know even last year we talked about like the composters other as like another waste management in addition to the recycling of the styrofoam and other things, just to make it like a bigger event, a one-stop shop kind of a
Mhm.
thing
Mhm.
that was all about Earth Day. I just threw that out there as, since we already have kind of that
So are
whole
we
park
kind of thinking of, yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. Right, we do,
Mhm.
we do. There's the Ahuska, the whole Ahuska part is what you're saying, not just the parking lot,
Right.
right? I mean, yeah. I mean, we could do something like that. Yeah. It's pretty darn busy just sticking to e-cycling and the statistics are quite impressive. Like you would be surprised how much stuff people bring out to that event.
Oh,
Like,
I forgot.
where is this coming from? Like, yeah, just
Janesville.
clearing out your basement. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Marshall.
Yeah.
I think that's an exciting idea though that Sarah pitched because the level of engagement could be broader, and I know that the MG21 students do a plant sale as well. This could maybe tie in with the some of their learning values that they promote with sustainability and the gardening that they're doing in their school gardens and growing seeds. Just a bit of a brainstorm thought of collaboration across the community or something like that. So,
Yeah, and Dane County Extension does a plant sale too.
right.
And Friends of the Arboretum, they do native plant sales. I think Troy Gardens does a native section of their plant sale.
And the idea of promoting rain gardens as a component of that would tie in with the water runoff in the planning as well. So,
Plus it reduces chemicals being put on grasses for fertilizer or whatever else, herbicides.
Absolutely.
it's a great educational opportunity and demos.
It is. So, are we thinking, so I just want to bring back the focus for a moment, I mean, all true, and I agree with everything that's been said. Just like with NOMO May, right? So, looking at NOMO May 2023, I will look at the ordinances to see if there's anything on the books that would prevent people from just doing permanent no-mow lawns. Like, do you need a setback? Is there any sort of parameters that would need to be in place? But we've already got yard signs, and I'm guessing that maybe we take that same design of the yard sign and make little flyers and throw them at pizza boxes again would be a really effective way to get the word out into the community. Sarah, what do you think about that? Taking that same design from the yard sign and incorporating it into like a bookmark size flyer?
Is
that
it
we-
bookmark sized or do you want
Yeah.
just like a flyer?
like bookmark, I think.
Okay.
Is all we really need.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to rework it to make that fit the way that
Yeah.
there'd be a lot of negative space on the top or bottom, but we could create like some bullet points with information or something. So yeah, That would not be hard.
Or do you think a third of a sheet of paper? I'm just trying to like use little, it's gonna just go into the trash. Right? I mean, so I don't want to use too much paper, but.
Yeah, I mean, whatever size, I can redesign it into whatever size
Okay.
sheet, or are you thinking bookmark because you think the library might be willing to do it too, or? Because I know
Oh,
we've talked many
That's a good
times
That's
about
a
the library
great
putting them
idea.
with books
That's
and
good.
then
yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And we'll put them out in the library. Yeah.
Give them out of Winter School.
I've had my kids come home with some great stuff like that.
Really?
So,
Awesome.
yes.
So between the library, the schools, pizza boxes, matching yard signs all over the community, I think we would saturate Monona. I think No Mow May is pretty well established with that. I love the idea that we have now sort of a theme or we have like a design that we're gonna be using and it's recognizable. That flower design that Sarah had is awesome. Okay, so so when that comes next year, I think it'd just be as easy as, you know, a couple people taking a stack of bookmarks to the library, a couple people taking them to the school, handing some off to Patrick, and then PSAs to tell people to, you know, put a yard sign in your yard and stop mowing. Right? That's a pretty easy one.
how, just curious, how are we on yard signs? Did a lot of people, because quite a
check.
lot of people picked them up. Do we have many left to still hand out again?
Didn't the mayor say there was a bunch back there somewhere?
There were a lot of adopt a storm
Oh,
drain
storm drain,
size, yeah.
So forgive me, because I
Yeah.
am embarrassed to ask, how do I as a citizen know where to get it? Do I just?
Yeah,
call the city
so, yeah, you just call the city and pick up a yard sign, yeah.
Simple, okay.
Now, do we want to sell the yard signs for $5 or whatever and make money for the sustainability committee? Because
Yes.
that was an idea last year that kind of we started to do.
Yes, and maybe you don't even sell it for 5, do it as a
Donation,
donation,
yeah.
because somebody's gonna give
Yeah.
you 10, somebody's gonna give you 20. I
Yeah,
know WVMO came by my house and I got, you know, it's like $10 of the sign and I gave him 20,
Right.
so.
And I do know last year, Therese, or earlier this year, I guess, I lose track of time. Earlier this year, when we were standing out doing e-cycle, we talked about how we could have handed out the yard signs at the
Right.
e-cycle event because it's
right.
10 days before May begins. So I think that would be a great place to do it where people already have cash because they're paying to drop off their recycling things, and
Mhm.
you could get them out there.
So Thor, could you check with how many yard signs we have for No More May? So
Yes.
Sarah's doing the bookmark. I'm gonna look at ordinances. Thor's checking on the number of signs and the rest, I think, just does itself. That's a pretty decent shovel-ready thing that we've already we know how to do that one. We've never done the water softener thing before, but we know how to do No More May. And then some other things that are, so that kind of like takes us to, do we want to do something for the Memorial Day Parade? So what we've talked about in the past was just walking in the parade and handing out flyers like the bookmarks for No More May, or maybe the water softener bookmarks, or maybe we have bookmarks for, you know, something else. We've also talked about kind of a fun thing where, so again, it would be in the month of May and we would be pushing electric or real lawnmowers and kind of doing like synchronized lawnmowers, which is kind of funny. But whenever we try to do it, it kind of boils down to everyone's out of town. You know, so we don't, and nobody wants to do it. Like, we want a big group or no group at all, because you just kind of feel silly, like.
Two people doing it.
Yeah, it doesn't look
It's
too
not the
cool,
same.
right, exactly. Plus, like, the Alders are already in the parade, Sarah's already in the parade with their county board, so it's kind of a funny thing, but,
I have actually never been to nor seen the Monona Memorial Day Parade, so
You're always walking in a parade somewhere else.
I'm always in Eau Claire, where I
Yeah.
am right now.
Right.
But I actually am hoping that this 2023 Memorial Day, I think I'm actually going to be in Monona. So I will be happy to push my electric
Someone write
mower.
it down.
Yep.
So I think you should dress up as a giant water softener.
I can do that. I can do that. It was just a turkey.
I love
Yes.
it. Patrick could be a giant water
Maybe we can have the kindergartners make the costume.
Oh, perfect. Out of found object.
So be like, what the heck's a water softener?
Can you be a tradition?
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do
You'll do
it.
it, okay.
Yes, if we can find a costume, I'll do it.
You're a good sport.
Oh, my goodness.
There could even be a big love your lakes sign or something.
Something like that,
Even more
yeah,
traditional, if
yeah.
people are feeling
Right.
inhibited.
Yeah.
To,
I think right, because the way that you mow contributes to the lakes, right? It's
Right,
all
that whole
connected.
relationship.
Yeah.
Who's
it's
gonna
all
wear the
connected.
lawnmower costume?
A big bottle of Roundup. All right, so we've got,
Ron Parade.
Ashley and, oh my, Kristen, I'm so sorry. So Ashley and Kristen are
Yes.
doing salting. We've got Earth Day's kind of doing itself. No more Maze. We've got that under control. Memorial Day Parade. I think we just need to round up a bunch of people if we want to do like this mower brigade, which would be hilarious, and figure out what we want to pass out. And then
Best environmental related costume in the parade gets $100 sales gift card.
sounds good.
Yes.
And then there's the Monona Community Festival in July. I have mixed feelings about, I don't want to project. What have we done in the past? We've sort of had a table at the park and it just sort of displays what we're about and what we do. And it's an opportunity to draw in new members, to explain what this committee has done in the past and talk about the sustainability plan. It just is sort of, it's just tabling, standing at a table is what that is, yeah.
Is it any different than just going to the farmer's market regularly and having a table or?
Not really. I mean, we certainly could do that also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just more
Yeah.
visibility.
yeah. Certainly could do that also. So that's all that is, but when that comes around, it would be just putting together the displays, which will give some volunteers to do that. National Night Out in August is, I don't know if one year we partnered with the police. Oh, it's already 7:30. Oh my goodness, I will wrap this up. One year
First, like, I
we
only have so many hours.
we coordinated with the police and the fire to sort of have a little, we jokingly called it a sustainability rodeo. That was sort of the internal joke of the rodeo, but
The hell
we
is
had,
that?
we had like 5 Teslas, we had a bunch of electric mowers, we had e-bikes, we had,
Just imagining
All
lassoing
this
of giants
stuff.
of water softeners.
yes, it was, we could have giant water softeners, you know, so we just sort of had like a
Or the
corner.
zebra muzzle eating contest.
Really?
A clam bake, mussel bakes.
So we had, so.
Invasive species dinner. So no, sorry.
Like a clam bake, you know,
That's
you
super
know,
awesome.
this is.
No.
Side of garlic mustard.
I like it. So it was a lot of work, but it was fun. We had a lot of people bring out their mowers and their e-bikes, and we had bike repair, and we had folks come in and like give kids like, you know, a tune-up on their bicycle. I don't know if we want to do that. It kind of depends how deep into the sustainability plan we find ourselves at that point in the year. It could be something we do. We don't need to commit to it right now. I think we've got some big things though. Salt practicing, e-cycle, no mow May, maybe the Memorial Day Parade, and a bigger and better adopt a storm drain plan. I think that's 4 significant projects for 2023. And we're gonna be digging into the plan and figuring out how this work checks off boxes on the plan. And maybe even push the city on something bigger. So.
I'm not finding any water softener costumes.
No, find a giant cuff costume and then we'll make it into
Yes.
water softeners. costume.
I mean, looking at the pictures.
I actually-
Like a big
I
tube.
have a water softener that I unplugged the moment I moved into my house because I didn't want to use a water softener because I didn't like it. So I actually have an empty water softener in my basement. If you want to cut some leg holes
Usually
in
they're
it,
about this
and
Two holes for the arms.
It's
and
there
you
for the
can,
But I could
taking.
wear it on my back.
Walk around, yeah.
There you go.
Just look like
It
a
can be
ghost
like-
at that point.
Don't be saddled with these old water softeners. Look at how terrible it is.
Just put it on a freaking wagon and pull it down the street. Like it's sort of, anyway.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
You can tell that I didn't get much sleep last night.
Yeah.
Hold on 2 days.
Some of your best creative thinking.
So the entire sustainability plan is also in the packet. And you don't have to go to the city website, but it's on the city website if you ever want to see it. And so I think that, oh, and I just wanted to also share with you on the agenda that we have $2,000 in the budget for 2023, which is fantastic. So I was really happy about that. There's been a really very, very serious, there's like a cloud hanging over, you know, budgets are a serious thing and each department really was asked to cut back a lot and our department got a little boost, so that's fabulous. It's only $2,000, but it's, you know, it's something.
More than
It'll pay
zero.
for a lot of pay for a lot of bookmarks, right?
Right.
Flyers. Yeah. Okay. So it's 7:30, a little after 7:30. I think we can, is there a motion to, well, before we adjourn, let me say that once we get into the projects, now that Kristen and Ashley are, like, you've got your charge and you'll be meeting on your own as much as you want to. And you are free to bring in other people that are not on this committee. You are absolutely free. Like, there might be a rule about the number of people that can be in this room on this committee, but it is, we have talked about this for years, and it is perfectly okay for you to go out and recruit people that might just work for 2 or 3 months on a project and then go their way. Maybe folks have an interest in being involved, but they don't want like a year, 2-year commitment, right? They just, yeah, free to do that.
Good to know. Thank you.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? I will second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Nice to see you, thank you. Sarah, thank you for making it. That's really
of course.
amenable all the way out in that corner of the world.
You know, it's amazing we have electricity out there.
Well, and internet. I mean, my
Yes.
parents only got internet literally last year, so this is
Really?
actually pretty good that I
Are you
can do this.
serious?
Yeah, welcome to Western Wisconsin. That's how it is up here.
So we have a place in